Hey guys, welcome back to the Dialed In Podcast. This is the low equity edition. Today we are joined by Bryan, Bob, and Mike. Bryan, since you are the newbie today, both Bob and Mike have been here a few times before already. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll start with you. Where are you located? How can people work with you? What are you doing on a daily basis with regard to real estate?
Okay. I'm in the Austin area and I'm looking towards acquisition and lead generation. That's the area that I want to focus in, both to agent and to seller. I know it's kind of biting off more than I should, but that's kind of what I want to do. So I think I'm going to do it.
I love that. What kind of success have you had so far? Where do you feel like, well, let's start with that. And then I also want to see kind of where there might be some holes in your game.
Okay. So I would say my biggest hole in my game is mindset and consistency. I've been good at doing some sprints, but as far as the marathon, I'm failing. So I have to work harder on that and being consistent. I've spent my career talking to a lot of people, so I think that once I have strategies for sales and marketing, which I have very little experience in, I think I'll do a lot better. But learning those is going to be a bit of a challenge.
I think we lost Bob there for a second. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
I was actually going to say, coincidentally, this is the first time that we've had a father-son duo on here.
Oh,
Mike,
yeah.
they are father-son. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Bryan. I really appreciate you coming on. And, I think that the whole idea here and I know that everyone kind of thinks it when they come in here, but I don't think that they really take it to heart is we all want to get better together, right? This is never really a competitive type of environment. Our business shouldn't be competitive. Hey, Bob, you're back.
I guess so. I touched something, everything went black. It's like
we heard you go, gosh darn, what's going on? So you're back. We were just talking to Bryan. We were talking about how we want to make sure that we all help each other improve. So good timing on coming back. Mike, you're next. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you located? How can people work with you?
Okay. My name is Mike Stitz. I am in Central Florida. The projects I'm currently working on are fix and flip projects and pad split projects. I'm focusing mainly in Jacksonville, Florida right now. While doing that, I'm also looking to work with hard money lenders, private money lenders, and private money partners. So if you do have any deals or anything in Jacksonville and you would like me to take a look at it, more than happy to do so. Love to see if I can work with anyone. Thanks.
I love that.
Great.
Thanks for joining. Bob, tell us about yourself.
I'm also out of Austin, Texas. My main struggle is consistency and putting in the reps, as they say. I've got a complication a little bit that you three younger folk don't have, and that I'm an old fart and I've got some responsibilities that just sort of get in the way sometimes. But I'm trying to be more intentional allocating time, and then trying to prevent the time from getting stolen from or something else coming up. And I say, oh, I need to do that. I need to take care of that. That takes priority over this, and trying to balance all that stuff out.
Hey, Bob, can I ask you a question? Since
Sure.
I know that you're a former and probably still do some psychology stuff just in your general life. Do you mind if I ask you a psychology question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Bryan was talking about how consistency is an issue, and you mentioned it as well. And I think consistency is just hard in general for us, right? Because unless this is a job that we're doing 24/7, we don't have anything else going on. It's really hard to stay consistent. What would you tell somebody who is struggling with consistency? What would be a good maybe first couple of steps to move towards a much more consistent type of work ethic with regard to this?
If I knew that real well, I wouldn't have trouble with being inconsistent. I think the stuff that you hear people talk about, which is why are you doing this? And so probably finding a way to revisit on a regular basis. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why is this important? Blah, 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 that sort of stuff. And then I think the time blocking business, of, making a commitment to do X amount of work. And it's not quite clear in this environment whether it's X hours of calls or whether it's X number of calls, or I don't know exactly what the KPI. I know that measuring KPIs helps you stay on track. I'm not sure what the KPIs ought to be, and every time I think about that and write some down, I never track them myself. And then I think having a group that you can practice with and or report into, kind of an accountability kind of, all that would probably help.
Yep. I agree with that. Mike and Bryan, you guys weren't here last week. Bob and I we have something in common. So my wife used to also be a chief of psychology at the VA in Long Beach.
Oh, wow.
Coincidentally. So when I asked Bob tell us a little bit about himself, since he's been here quite a few times, he tried to say something different. And I'm glad that he did, because we learned that we had something in common. I don't personally, but obviously my wife.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So let's get to calling. As always, the leads that we're calling are brand new on market as of this weekend. These are from Saturday and Sunday. And so these are brand new, fresh on market, low equity deals. And they're sponsored by rocketbotleads.ai. So if you guys want to use rocketbotleads.ai, I've included an affiliate link down below. I would appreciate if you guys use that link if you guys want to sign up for a free trial. And I think that you also get 20% off your free month, or your first month, 20% off your first month.
Okay.
All right, guys. So let's get to calling. Let's see how many people we can get on the phone today.
So before we split up, a lot of times you and I have been the only one here. So it's really easy to I can keep my mouth shut and you can go and you can keep your mouth shut. But with four of us, remind me of how that works so we don't walk on each other and stuff like that.
Great question. So we'll mute while we're calling, so we don't have to hear the dial on the recording here. And then when you get on a phone call, just unmute. If someone else is on another phone call, obviously don't unmute if they've gotten on the phone call first. And if you do get on a call while someone else is on a call, just keep it unmuted. We'll talk about it afterwards and see how the call went. And hopefully we can the three of us, I'm not going to make any calls today, so just the three of you guys. Hopefully we can hear a call, at least one of them from each one of you.
So you unmute when you're actually talking to the agent, not when you're getting ready to say, "Oh, no answer."
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. All right, guys. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure. So you want to contact the listing agent for that property. It's going to be Dustin Jacobs. I can text you his information if you'd like.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Questions for you about it. So it's a new listing. Just had a few questions. My phone number is 6.
Hello, hello. Anybody there?
Can anybody hear me? I'm having real tech problems here.
Yeah, we got you, Bob.
Yeah, I see it's a relatively new listing. Have you had a chance to have an open house for it yet?
We haven't had an open house yet.
Okay. Have you gotten anybody to take a look at it or gotten any feedback on it yet?
Yeah, we had 3 showings yesterday, and we have 2 scheduled for today.
Okay, fantastic. So you do have some activity on. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. Okay. With the people that have taken a look at, what kind of feedback have you received?
The 2 people that have responded so far on the feedback, one of the couples said, "We really like the house. We're considering making an offer." And then the other agent said that her clients liked it, but it was the very first home that they had seen on their search, so they want to take a look at some other stuff before they do anything.
Okay, completely understand. Okay, so to be completely transparent, I am a buyer. I am looking to acquire some more properties as real estate investing. Would this be a good property for a real estate investment to lend out, or I'm sorry, to lease out?
I think so. Yeah, I know the next door neighbors are very good.
Okay.
My clients have loved it. It has a big backyard. I helped them buy this house in 2021, and they're really excited. They like the location. They just need a little bit bigger of a house as their family has grown. So that's the only reason they moved, was to get a bigger house. But I think you could definitely rent it out.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, it does look like a great house. And one of the things that I do as an investor is when we look at these properties, we're trying to figure out what's the best way to make sure that we're, helping out the seller, and we got to make sure that we're helping out ourselves on this end. We have to make sure that it's going to cash flow. Have you received any types of offers? I know it's only been 2 or 3 days, and you said you got some people, but you haven't gotten an offer yet. Have you dealt with anyone who has provided a creative offer?
We have got no offers yet.
No offers, but any other properties that you've dealt with, have you received any creative offers, creative finance offers? Okay. All right. Well, usually,
Do you mean creative like a specific thing, or do you mean creative like outside of a traditional offer? I've dealt with things like that, or are you talking about something specific called a creative offer?
no, it would just be, like you said, it would be out of the norm, like a conventional loan from a bank.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got one on this other listing I have right now in Harriman. This guy, an agent / investor, called with some, I would call it a creative offer, where they basically just pay the equity and keep the loan in the seller's name, but then someone else is making the payments, and my sellers were not interested at all in that. I've dealt with things like that before, but
Okay. That's one of the ways that we do it, as well as we do it depends on the current, how long the seller has owned the house. We do come along, and we have done seller finance with some of the people before. That's another way, the creative offers that we have done. And I'm not sure what the situation is with this one, but if they haven't owned the house long enough, that might be one way that we could skin that cat.
yeah, they need to sell it outright because they're under contract to buy a new home, and they're going to dump all of their equity into the new house.
Yep.
So I don't think they're interested in seller financing.
Yep. I can completely understand. And plus, this one's been on the market just a few days. So I wouldn't even, I'm just asking if it's something that you're familiar with. And yeah, with this one, I wouldn't recommend it, at least not at this point. However, if your clients, it seems like there's quite a bit of activity already on this house, so I'm happy for you. But if you do find that you're not getting the kind of feedback that you need, or the options that you would like, do feel free to at least reach out to me. I'm more than happy just to answer any questions. If you do have any questions regarding like a creative finance offer, I think a lot of people call it maybe a subject to. I myself call it a mirror wrap when it comes to taking over the current loan and working with it. But I think at this point, I will sit back and just watch. But if you do have any questions about it, I'm more than happy to give you all the knowledge that I know about it, if that would be okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love having that in our back pocket. So you got the right idea. We'll kind of just stay focused with the showings and see what happens. And on that path, if we get in a different situation, I can give you a call and talk about it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Eric. I would really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have yourself a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye.
Great job, Mike.
Thank you.
Good call. What'd you think?
I think it went well. I think going into this early in the game, knowing that, we're not going to try and sell them on any creative finance. I know I feel like I kind of came off, I might have come on a little bit stronger than I wanted when it came to that, but it was just, I guess I'm trying to find my way into like getting into like, have you received any offers like that? And I know that they probably haven't, or maybe they have, but yeah, I certainly don't want to push on it. Just want to ask them about it.
Bob, what'd you think of Mike's call?
So I guess I had the same. I thought it was pretty smooth. I had the same concern about kind of pushing creative finance before anything else came up. I think it would help, like, for lack of a better way of putting it, to kind of set the stage. Like, why might I even be saying that? So I'm an investor, and there's a variety of ways I can buy houses, but I've got a number of properties, and so I can't get a regular conventional kind of loan. I'm sort of stuck with one of those bankers or semi-bankers that take 10% interest or a DSCR loan or something like that. So I'm kind of stuck with either doing something called, and then you talk a little bit about taking our payments, or seller finance, but this wouldn't really fit for seller finance. Do you think your seller might be interested perhaps, or I don't know, not at this point in the conversation, but it looks like a low equity deal, and this way of taking our payments really can get something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Looks like Brian's got a call, I guess, huh?
Yep. Let's see if we can listen in on Brian's call.
Okay.
I know I sent it to another client, but it just was outside of the area that they were looking for.
Okay. Well, I'd like it if you could send that to me. Maybe you could text or something to this number. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. I look forward to hearing from you. Nice speaking with you.
Yes, sir. It's nice speaking with you as well. And your name was Brian, right?
That's right. It's Brian with a Y.
Awesome. All right. Well, I sure appreciate it, Brian. I'll be in touch with you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brian, how'd your call go? We missed everything except for the last minute, maybe 45 seconds. So how did it go?
So it was kind of interesting. The person didn't think that the house that I was calling on, they would be interested in seller finance or anything like that. However, he did have an address that he wanted to send me for another house that he thought would be a good fit for seller finance. I asked him to send me that information. I need to document in my notes so that I recognize him when he calls back.
So that's all that you're really looking for, right, Brian? You're looking for something from an agent, right? You're looking to create that relationship, whether it's for this lead or for something else. And I was listening to the No One Left Behind challenge last week, and Pace was talking about how I don't think he's ever done a deal. How did he phrase it? He said that, I think it was last month. I think every single one of last month's phone calls, they had something like 7 deals. None of those deals were on the house that he was calling about.
Oh, wow.
So it was all about, here's what I do and how I might be able to help you. How can we work together to both make some money? And so that's really what it sounds like your call was like. It was not a great fit maybe for this seller, but it could be for a seller somewhere else.
Yeah.
So great job. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing a full call from you. Mike,
Thanks.
Okay. So before I forget, I think that the agent said something to the effect of the seller needs all of their equity to go buy a new house.
Yep.
Right. I think that was your window where you could have jumped in and said, okay, cool. How much are they expecting to bring from this house into the new house? Or something along those lines. Yeah, I think you could have gone a little bit deeper into that.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I think that the assumption from agents a lot of the times is that if we're doing something creative, a seller finance, a sub 2, that the seller's not going to get all of their equity up front and they won't be able to use it on their next acquisition. Right? So if the concern is that they won't be able to go buy a new house, either it's typically for 2 reasons. The first one is, well, they won't be able to qualify, right? Because they still have their mortgage in their name. The second one is sometimes they feel like they're not going to be able to bring their money out of this property and put it into the new property, which neither one of those are true, right? Someone can go purchase a new home and keep this mortgage in place so they can qualify. And the second one is we're going to pay them their equity. How much are they looking for? How much are they expecting out of this sale? So I think you could have gone down that road a little bit.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I should have done that. You're right.
The other thing that I want to mention is that if you're in real estate investing, you have to find reasons to call agents. And it's really because if you're not top of mind with that agent, you're missing opportunities. It's as simple as that. So here's an easy one that you did a great job of, Mike. You were talking about an open house. And so I think it's really easy for us to come up with excuses to call agents. In this situation, you were simply calling, you said, look, how did the open house go? Or so I'm sorry, you said, have you done an open house, right? Because you were looking for feedback on the house itself.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to try to find reasons to call the agent, especially on the second or third phone calls. This one you can call about the property, right? It's really easy. You can always bring in the open house question, but it's also important, I think, on the second and third calls to come up with an excuse, right? Like, hey, are you doing an open house this weekend? I'm going to call you on Monday to see how it went. Or on Tuesday, and maybe give yourself a day to field offers, if any offers come in.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Good job on that. All right, guys, let's keep on calling. By the way, it's hilarious watching 3 people try to make phone calls while no one picks up for like 5 minutes straight.
It's crazy. Last time it was just you and me. I made 2 calls and got 2 answers and 2 conversations. Today I've made 3 calls and not a single answer. It's like
it goes this way sometimes, Sometimes it's just the day of the week.
Yep.
And how do you do? This is Brian, and I'm calling about Thrasher Oak in San Antonio.
Yes, sir. How can I help you?
Well, I'm interested in your listing there. I'm wondering if you've shown it. Have you had an open house or anything like that?
No open houses. We just listed it on Saturday.
Okay. How would you what am I trying to ask? How would you categorize the house? What would it be good for? What do you see it as a flip or as a rental, or is it strictly going to be for someone who's looking for their forever home?
Definitely not a forever home. First time home buyer. It was built in '86, so it's not. I mean, it's definitely livable. My clients lived there for 4 years. He just got PCS'd out. So
okay.
But I mean, yeah, it's a good home. Are you an agent? Who are you?
No, I'm an investor, and I'm looking more for seller finance opportunities, more specifically.
Yeah, not on this one.
Not on this one. Okay.
Yeah, but I have like 3 or 4 other listings, so just shoot me your card and I'll shoot you my listings.
Okay. Can I text you that information at this number? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And have you worked with people who do seller finance? Have you worked with creative finance before, or is that something new for you?
No, definitely done it.
Oh, okay. Outstanding. I'd say you probably work with, especially in San Antonio, fix and flippers, I would guess. All right. Cool, Dan.
But yeah, just give me a shout, man, and shoot me that information.
All right. Sure will. Thank you.
He was interesting. It's always interesting when an agent picks up and you can tell that you feel like you're bothering them already. I don't know why that happens, because that's their job. But I was a little bit worried about where that was going to go when I heard his attitude of, how can I help you? But you did a really good job. Mike or Bob, what did you guys think of Brian's call?
I thought it went well with an agent who wasn't wanting to spend much time on the phone. It sounds like if he's actually, for lack of a better way of putting it, true to his word, when you send your stuff, he's got some other. I had a little trouble with the sound. Did he say he had some other listings that it might work for?
Yeah, he said 4 or 5.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I heard. So I'm always intrigued by when an agent tells me that, and I send him my stuff, and I never ever hear from him again, or I hear from him. So I don't know this. I'm not saying this guy's not going to say anything, but I think that was a good ending point. Kind of a good way to keep in touch, and makes it open for a follow-up phone call if you don't get any listings in from him. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike, any thoughts?
Yes. Kind of like Bob, what I would say is that the way that this ended, this was a win. The way it did start out, though, I thought it was like, oh, no. that part's like, okay, this one I would just probably hang up on. But the fact that you're able to get he told you that he has listings for you, is a good sign. But I think, I guess when it came off to saying, I'm looking for seller finance deals, you kind of corner yourself in when you say that, because you don't know exactly what all the situations are when it comes to a deal. And that's just from my own experience, is like, I'm only focusing on this one thing. And if it doesn't fit this box, then it's not a deal for me, but it's a deal. It could be a deal. So I wouldn't say, seller finance right out of the box. I'd probably just, start that repertoire course with them. And I don't know if this guy was going to let you create any repertoire with him. But I would probably, you started out good asking if they've had an open house, trying to find out if they've received any feedback, and just ask them, I guess, what's your seller looking for when it comes to, getting out of this house. And usually it's just conventional loan, that kind of stuff. But at that point, that's when I would just bring in like creative finance type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, you picked up on exactly what I was going to say. So what I wrote down is you never want to limit yourself with the options that you're able to provide to an agent, or you never want to limit yourselves in the way that you can help an agent, is probably the better way to say it. So when you said seller finance, you did exactly what Mike said. You put yourself in that box a little bit of, hey, Bryan's now the seller finance guy. But there are, myriad other ways that you can help that agent. You could help finance deals for that agent's clients. You could have gone deeper and asked, what exactly are they looking for in their business, right? Are you just a real estate agent? Are you an investor? What exactly it is that you do? And then that gives you a bunch of other things that you could bring up. You would also, let's say, for example, Bryan, that he brings you a deal that's a fixer upper in San Antonio. He doesn't have a buyer for it. Could you find a buyer for him?
Potentially.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So there are so many other ways that you can help an agent, but you never want to put yourself in that box. So, yes, I do seller finance, but I also do all of these other things too. What exactly are you looking for in your business? That's always a good question to ask.
Right.
Yeah. Good job, though.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job. All right, let's keep on rolling, guys.
Here in North Carolina?
Nope, I'm in Texas. But I lived in North Carolina. Are you familiar with Asheboro?
Yes.
Okay, and do you also know Chapel Hill?
Yes.
Okay, Carborough.
Yep. So how can I help?
So yeah, I'm calling about your listing, Charter Road. I'm a buyer. I'm an investor, and I wanted to get some feedback on that listing, see kind of where you were at, where the seller was at.
Yeah, I mean, we're set to go live on the 5th. They want full asking price.
They want full asking price.
It's going to work for them. Like we have no room for negotiation for this one.
Okay.
They bought it with a VA loan, and they're hoping to walk away with money. So,
okay. Do you know how much money they're wanting to walk away with?
20 grand.
20 grand. Okay. All right. All right. But so you personally, I mean, kind of focusing on your business, do you, taking a look at this house, do you see it as a rental? Do you see it as a fix and flip? What are its needs or its potentials?
Nothing. We're just going to test out the market right now. We may actually rent it out, if anything. But yeah, I'm sure it could be rented out.
Okay.
On how much your interest rate is, because I ran some numbers and stuff. Or whoever's coming in. So I think the only route that we're currently going to take right now is get the offer that we're looking for, because we're already working with a tight budget. There's really no gap there. We don't have any room at all.
Gotcha. So have you ever, just personally, have you ever worked with someone on a more creative deal, or like seller finance, or any of that sort of thing?
Yeah, I've had a lot of suggestions on that.
Uh-huh.
Tried a couple of times.
Okay, but never done one, sounds like.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I don't think this is something that they're going to be open to either.
Okay, outstanding. Well, to be honest, that doesn't surprise me. A lot of the places that I'll call on, it's not. But running into you is nice, because you're likely to run into some houses that may not may not work just going on the market, the normal way that people list things on the market. And I'd like to be someone that you'd reach out to if you find a property like that, or a seller that was open to that sort of
Send
thing.
me your contact information. Look, I don't know the kind of properties that you guys are looking for, but to be quite honest, those are few and far in between. Because I do have a property now that is up to $1 million. If that one doesn't work, I'll give you a call. But yeah, I know what you guys are doing.
Okay.
Like your work. Yeah. So I guess just send me your contact information, and I'll reach out to you if I run into anything that could be a potential opportunity for you. Okay?
Thanks for calling me back. I appreciate your time.
No problem, Brian. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, so she remembered your name at the end of the call, which I actually think is a good sign on that call. So good job. I loved the way that you introduced that call, by the way. And I was thinking while you're going through it of playing a little bit of a joke on her when you were naming cities around Chapel Hill and Carborough. And by the way, I used to live in Chapel Hill too. So
Mike, that
familiar.
Okay, that's like a coffee or something. We got to talk.
So yeah, my wife was finishing up her doctorate at Duke, and we lived in Chapel Hill. But I think it would have been really funny is if, as you were naming cities, she interrupted you and she said, "How can I help you, Brian?" You just kept going, been like Apex, Clayton, Gary, And she's like, "Yeah, I know these cities." I think it's really interesting that this agent specifically said, they need full price, or they won't accept anything lower than full price. Obviously, right? I mean, you guys are brand new on market. It's not like this is a fire sale by any means, yet at least. So for her to say that, I found that to be really interesting. Mike or Bob, excuse me. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys thought.
This is searching for the proverbial needle in the haystack. So I thought that worked well for that. Brian and I have been in all those cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was interesting. I had a brilliant thought, which I've now lost in just trying to talk.
Have you guys had the chicken and dumplings from Mama Dips in Chapel Hill?
I have not.
You would have remembered.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we were there 40 years ago, maybe. So.
Yep.
Been a while.
I had some brilliant comment to make. I've completely lost it.
You'll find it while you're thinking about it. Mike, what'd you think of Brian's call?
I thought it was a good call. I guess the one thing that I was wondering about was, did she call you back or did you call her? Right.
She called me back.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's a good sign. But the fact that the one thing that I would mention is the fact that she told you specifically that her clients want $20,000. You got that out of her. She gave you good information. And it's still too early to try and push like a creative finance offer. But it's like, okay, well, if I gave them the $20,000 and I was able to pay, the rest of their mortgage off over time, would they be up for that? That might just be something I'd ask. But, that's one thing that we do, as a buyer, to try and see if it's anything that your client would consider. That's one way that we do these deals. So yeah, she gave you good information on that. That it seems like they might be in a little bit of pain. They need $20,000 to get out of here.
Yep.
And, when the seller or when the agent says that the seller just recently bought the property a couple years ago, I think that's what she said. One thing that I will question sometimes is what has the market done in the past couple years without, I'm not trying to be contentious in any way. I'm just trying to say, look, I'm a little bit unfamiliar with this market. What have values done in the past couple of years? Have they increased to the point where, this amount of equity is reasonable? Or have they done anything to the house to improve the home price itself? Because if they're looking for 20 grand, they bought the house 2 years ago, it's going to be really hard to increase the value. But what's the asking price on this, Brian? It's got to be in the 3s or 4s.
Looks like 361,595.
Okay. Yeah. So that would mean that they probably bought it for closer to 300,000. Or they're just looking for more money.
Show an equity of 20 grand?
I beg your pardon. So it looks like they're asking 405 and the loan was 361,595.
Got it. So that's what they bought it for then, right? A VA loan, it's typically 0 down. So they probably bought it for 365 or so. And I can imagine that the property has not increased in value, just knowing what markets have done in the past couple of years.
Right.
So I think what they're trying to do is just say, let's see how much we can get out of this property and list it higher, as opposed to a more realistic value, which is probably closer to 375.
Yeah. So probably if you track it over time, they're not going to get contracts in at full price. And or if they do get contracts in at full price, it won't appraise out. Because I think what they're trying to do is they told the agent, I need 20 grand. So they did the math backwards. What we have to list it for and whatever. Brian, to the far right, it has the estimated cash to seller. What does it say to them? What does it say there?
Let's see. Cash to seller.
Kind of far right column, I think.
It's probably going to be 0.
That's what I was wondering.
I believe it's 11,005.
Yeah. So they're 10 grand over what they can possibly get. Yeah. I remember what my brilliant thought was with that you sort of kind of got there, which is that's awesome. It's really a great deal when the seller can get full price.
Unknown caller.
I had a buddy who did a deal last month, and he was able to take over the payments and pay the commissions and pay the closing costs and get some money in the seller pocket, even though they offered full price. You think that might be of interest? Because then you're tagging the full price, which seems to be either. My thought would be it may be the agent's promise to the seller. Or if you have several more conversations with the agent and it's not selling, you can say, between you and me and the wall, are you hard on the full price, or is it the seller who's hard on the full price? And they may tell you, they may not. I don't know.
Or Bob, even take that a step further. What are they hard on? Are they hard on the sales price? Are they hard on the money that they're going to walk away with?
Yeah, yeah.
Because realistically, the offer that you submit on that property, Brian, is going to look like it's less than what the full offer price or what the full asking price is right now, right? But effectively, it's going to be the same amount.
Yeah.
Because let's say that the sellers are going to walk away with $11,000 in this situation. You can still write an offer that takes over their mortgage balance at $361, plus give them $11,000. So realistically, their offer price is going to be somewhere around $373, $372, $373. And even though it looks like it's less than the 405, which obviously it is, because you're going to be paying the commissions and the closing costs, it's effectively the same exact thing. So you can always go down that road too, probably not on the first call, right? But you can always kind of go down that road on the second or third call and say, if I were to give the sellers full price, effectively full price, and give them their equity at close, could I also pay your commission separately so it doesn't have to come from them? And, maybe that's something too that they're trying to take into account is with the 20 grand, sometimes it's worth clarifying exactly what that 20 grand is going to pay for. Sometimes, hey, is that 20 grand going to pay for your commissions, or can I pay those myself? Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think generally that was a very good call. I love asking why. Anytime I get the opportunity to ask why, I don't care what the question is, I'm going to ask it. Okay. So if the sellers are looking for 20 grand, why are they looking for 20 grand? Or the sellers probably wouldn't be interested in something like this where you guys take over the payments. Why? Why can't they do that? Why doesn't that make sense for them? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll get some pushback, right? But sometimes you won't. It's a gutsy question to ask, but you have to ask it, I think, to really understand the situation and to properly provide to the sellers exactly what they want as a result of the closing of this transaction.
Yeah, I think I should have spoke up when she was kind of, oh, I know what you guys are looking for. I know what you guys are doing. I think she had like a pigeonholed idea of what, as an investor, I could do. And because she didn't know,
might have been hammered by investors doing stupid stuff.
Yeah, we're all the same. All these people that call and ask these things, we're all the same. We're all, always trying to, scam them out of something and, whatever it is. But yeah, it's a funny like cat and mouse game of like trying to reassure that like you'll get your commission and your client's going to get the money that they need.
Yeah, because I really feel like once they say, well, send me your information, that's like you're never going to hear from them again under any circumstances. You have to keep contacting them. They're not going to contact you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's always going to be on you to call them. Always, always, always. It's like, never mind. I was going to use the analogy of, when in the old days, guys, when you used to ask a woman out on a date, and she'd be like, oh, I'll take your number.
Yeah.
Yeah, not going to happen.
You had to check and see if your wife was back there, huh?
I heard her walk upstairs. Yeah. All right, guys, let's try to get on one more phone call before we end the day.
All right.
Good job, Brian.
Thank you.
Oh, Brian, I was going to tell you, if I were you, so my full name is Michael Jackson. Don't love it, but people remember it. If you were to say that your name is Bryan Ice, ice like cold, or you can come up with your own kind of slogan or whatever. People are going to remember who you are.
Okay.
It's a memorable thing.
All right. I'll do it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I did see that it's only been on the market just for a few days. Have you happened to had an open house for it yet?
I did. I did an open house on Saturday for it.
Okay, fantastic. What kind of feedback did you get on it?
I got positive feedback on it. Of a client that was pretty interested that came in. Are you an agent? Are you a buyer?
I am a buyer.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, we had one family that came in and they liked it. The property is completely fenced in front and back. So, if you have dogs or little children, it's pretty convenient to not be worried about,
Absolutely.
Them will run off.
Yeah.
So that's why they liked it a lot. They have dogs. Tell me about yourself.
Okay, sure. Yes. So I am looking to purchase this one as an investment for a rental. Would this be in a good market for renting?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. And I guess one of the questions, why is your client selling this one?
She had got it with her daughter and kind of to be her forever home. And then basically her daughter co-signed, but now her daughter needs to buy a home herself.
Okay.
Her living situation changed, so she can no longer be co-signing for her mom. So her mom has to sell it and downsize. So that's pretty much the only reason. Other than that, she put a lot of money into it for the few years that she was there to make it her forever home.
Okay.
She's pretty bummed about that.
Yeah, I can see that. That would be very frustrating. You're kind of tied down at this point. So for something. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can completely understand it. So is the daughter then? She's trying to purchase another home. Is that what she said?
Yeah, the daughter's going to be purchasing another home.
Okay, yeah, I can completely understand. She put a lot of money down on this one. Okay, and it does look like she probably hasn't been in the. I guess the mother hasn't been in the house for that long. So, does the daughter have very much equity with when it comes to this one?
No,
Oh
we don't
boy.
have very much equity at all.
Okay.
No.
All right. No, that's very frustrating. So when it comes to then selling the house, so when they're able to sell this house, is it so more of a matter of just so she can get a loan to purchase another house?
So basically, I'm just going to be fully transparent with you because I don't believe in wasting anybody's time.
Okay.
The mom is going to be is the one that's going to be making equity because she's the one that's actually living there and paying on it. But she is her goal is she has to make 5,000 after everything's said and done. Move out.
Okay.
We can't make a deal any lower than her walking away with 5,000. And even me working my commission around to help her achieve that goal. So
right. So
that's kind of where we're at. Like,
okay.
She has a very minimal expectation of what she's going to make on it. That's kind of where she's at.
Okay, and so the $5,000 that's going to be after and everything your commission. So you're going to get your commission, and then hopefully she'll have some. Okay, so if we were able to do so, okay, so I've helped clients, and it may be too early. I mean, it's probably very too soon because I know it's just been on the market just for a few days, but I'd just like to give you a situation I've been able to help a client out in the past where they had to sell their house because their job promoted them to another state, and they'd only lived in the house for just a year. And so they had to get this house sold so they can move on to another house, and they wanted to purchase another one. So what we were able to do was we were able to pay the commission for their agent. We were able to put money down in their pockets so they could have at least some money, even just for moving, in their pockets so they could move. And we would take over their ongoing mortgage payments. And when it came to their debt to income, when it came to purchasing another loan, we were able to get a lease agreement for 12 months to show that their new lender that their current mortgage was going to be covered by a third party, and it was so their new lender was going to be okay with that. Would that be something that your clients might consider? I mean, like I said, I know it's too early to tell right now, but is that something that they would consider perhaps in a couple of weeks?
So basically not selling, but basically long-term renting out to you.
Well, what they would do is they would sell the house to me. What we would do, just so you know, this is what I call a mirror wrap. So what we would do is we would put the $5,000 in your client's pocket. I would pay your commission, and the current mortgage that is in place. What we would do is we would continue to pay those monthly payments. So it would keep their credit in place. Would improve any credit that they do have. Those monthly payments would get paid from a third party, and basically the mortgage would just go on, but the title would change into a new owner, which would be I would create an LLC for this.
Why not just buy the property?
Well, that's what we do, as we would be purchasing the property. But if you're asking why don't I just go get a conventional loan, because I do own a lot of properties, and there is so many loans that I'm allowed to get from a bank. That's the situation. And in this scenario, the rates are a little bit higher than what I would like. From what I can see on this property, it looks like they're just about 5%. Getting a 5% loan on a property right now is just kind of tight. Those are hard to find.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like seller financing, like you're assuming her loan.
It's very similar, yes.
You're assuming her loan, switching title.
Correct.
And basically everyone's getting what they want. But at what point, and then are you basically just waiting for rates to go down to fully, or like how?
Oh, are you asking? It sounds like you may be asking if there's a balloon payment.
So I've obviously never done this or heard of this, so I'd have to dig a lot deeper into it. But what risk is my seller taking?
Okay, it's a great question, and yes, everything there is risk. In this scenario, the biggest question that I usually get is what would happen if you guys fail to make a mortgage payment. So let's say that in 2 years, something happened to me. I got abducted by an alien or something, and I wasn't around to make payments. Well, that would actually be in your client's best benefit, actually, because what I've done is I've already made that mortgage payment to them, or that down payment to them, that $5,000 they get to keep. Any improvements I've made to the property, and I've paid down the mortgage on on that mortgage payment. So what they would get is the house would go back in their name, the keys would go back in their name, and I would set it up as so there would be what we call an all-inclusive deed of trust. And what that does is it just covers them. It gives them an extra security. So if I were able, or if I did fail to make a mortgage payment, they'd be able to get their keys back. They'd get the mortgage back. The title would go back into their name automatically. They wouldn't have to sue me or take me to court.
And that would all be in the contract.
Correct. That'd all be set up on the contract when we close at the on closing date.
And the reason why you're willing to do that is you're taking on this loan at 5%, making money on the rental, and you're sure of yourself that you're not going to default on the loan.
That is correct. You're 100% correct on that. I'm here to do business and make money. That is my goal. Defaulting on a loan, that's not going to help me. That I'm not going to go very far in this business if I do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're 100% correct. That this rate is appealing to me, and I'm purchasing this property for one of the reasons is because of that rate.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Just send me a text kind of what you just said and what you're calling it, and just a brief explanation of what you said and what kind of loan basically you're calling it. And I'm going to chat with my lenders and get the feedback on what you're proposing, and I'll talk with my client.
Absolutely, Ashley. Yeah, I can do that. Yep, I will do that.
Because the only reason why I think this scenario could work, if it does all line up, is she really just needs to get out. She really just needs $5,000 to get on her way, and she really doesn't have that much equity. So there's really not much in the property to work with anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, send me what you got, and I'll connect with my people, and then I'll get back in touch with you.
That sounds great, Ashley. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, how much time have you done this in the Denver area?
I'm sorry, in the Denver area? I do work.
How many have you done this in our area?
Well, I'm actually expanding into Colorado myself. I'm in Florida myself right now, but I am looking to expand with the hurricane situation. So I do have partners that I work with in Colorado, and they're ones that I would work with just to make sure that everything's gonna fit my buy box and just make sure that everything's gonna be good.
Okay. So have you done any in Colorado yet?
Yes, I have.
How many?
This would be my third one.
Okay. How many have you done in Florida?
I work with a company, 12 Oaks in the Jacksonville area. We've done about 50.
Okay. All right. Well, I will be in touch. How many houses have you guys give back to the owners?
How many have I failed on? Had to give back to the owners? 0.
Okay. Let me talk to her, and and then talk to my lawyer. She'll send over that information, and then I'll get back in touch with you.
Okay. Sounds great, Ashley. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll be in touch soon.
Yes. Okay. Remind me your name.
My name's Mike. Last name's Stitz.
Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Mike, sorry I screwed you up there. But, one thing that I really like to lean on is the fact that we have partners everywhere, right? You could reference the Milanazos. You could reference Pace, for example. You and your partners have purchased everywhere that you need that kind of credibility.
Right.
Sorry I screwed you up there.
No, that's okay. I saw you say yes. I have done it. Yes.
Yeah. There's tons of good stuff in that call. Bob and Brian, I'm curious what you guys thought of Mike's call. You're muted, Brian.
I beg your pardon?
I got you. You're unmuted now.
Oh, thank you. So, Mike, I liked it. At one point, when you were discussing what you're able to do, you lost her, and I picked up on her being confused, and she asked you a question, which was kind of like, "What's your strategy? What's your exit strategy?" But she didn't say it that way. I think she was like, "Well, why?" or something like that, and your response was, "Oh, are you asking about a balloon?" Now, that was actually the answer to her question, because a balloon payment would have been kind of an example of an exit strategy. And I think if you had kept it a little bit simpler, because she was really receptive to information, I think if you had spent more time just on the real basic moving parts, like she was having trouble understanding it. So maybe one thing you could have said was, it makes no sense for me to drop $20,000 on potential repairs and getting it rent ready, thousands of dollars on this, thousands of dollars on this, to have it go back to you guys. That would be a failure on my part. So I'm going to see that doesn't happen. Now, sure, I'm going to make it real easy in order to defend your client. I'm going to make it real easy for the house to go to them. But you've got to understand, my goal is to not let that happen. You know what I mean? I think that would have been something. Overall, that was a great call. That was really, I wish mine was like that, because you had a great rapport with her, and I think she would be more receptive to talking to you in the future than certainly anybody that I spoke to today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that.
Great points, Bob. What'd you think?
I think I had some of the same. So I thought in general it was a good call. I think he had good rapport. I think he didn't step on her toes too much. For lack of a better way to put it, I think she kind of liked you, vice versa. I think in the middle, it got confusing for me to track, and I think she was confused. I was trying to think. So when did that happen? I think that's when you started in saying so. You assumed that she was asking a DTI question. I don't think she exactly did, but she's sort of. And so then you went into the lease option and the lease and da-da-da-da. And then I think she got confused about whether you're wanting to rent it or whether you wanted to buy it. So if you hear it, are you asking me about how these people can go and buy another house if the mortgage is still in their name? Is that what you're asking? If the answer is yes, then here's what you do about that. We do two contracts. We do a sales contract with an option to purchase it, a binding option to purchase that's a year out or whatever it is. And we also do a lease, blah, 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 blah. But I think she got really lost in the middle. Didn't quite know kind of what you were talking about. The other thought was kind of the same as Brian's about being more simple. So the simple version of this is that we would take over your payment, that we would take over your seller's payments. We would pay the closing costs. We would pay your commission. And then if there's equity left over, and I kind of think maybe there's not much from what you said, but if there's some equity left over, maybe we can put some money in the seller's pocket. Then she has a clear idea of exactly what that might look like. I think that was the thought I had anyway.
Mike, what did you think of that call?
I don't want to say that it took me off. It took me off a little bit because my main goal here was not to try and sell the I wasn't trying to sell her on the deal, but the fact that she wanted to hear more about it. It's like, oh, geez, I wasn't expecting that. And to answer or to respond to both Bryan and Bob, I agree with them 100%. When it gets to the point where I'm trying to think of the question that they asked and I'm trying to answer it, I will give them too much information, and unfortunately, it probably confuses most people more. I might get tongue-tied and confuse them more. So I like what Bob had said. It's like, maybe ask the question again to make sure that I'm understanding their question so I can answer it. That way I'm not giving them too much information. So I'm going to have to remember to do that.
Yeah. And I think you need to, I don't mean you personally, I think all of us, myself included, perhaps myself more than most folks, you need to give the agent enough information so that there's a little bit of, well, that might work, or a little bit of, I'm tempted by that, or a little bit of, well, that's worth a phone call to my seller. And if they're going to call the seller about it, then they got to have a little bit of information they can say, so is this in the ballpark of what you might think about? Rather than, I don't really know, but I got this person who called me and said they might, I don't know, just a thought off my head.
Have you guys ever been to those kind of frou-frou restaurants, the ones that give you the really small bites and it's expensive and you're kind of annoyed that it's small, but then you take a bite of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I want a whole steak instead of just one small piece of that. Right. That's a great point, Bob. Like, give them a little bit of a taste and make them want to come back for more. I loved that call, Mike, for a lot of reasons. It may not sound like it with some of the points that I'm going to talk about here, but I loved it because you went down a great path with her. She was on board. She wanted to learn more in a lot of ways. At the end of the call, she was asking about your credentials because she wanted to make sure that if she did decide to go down this road with you, that she and the seller were secure. So those kind of questions were a really good sign to me. If I'm remembering correctly, and I wrote down here, maximize commission. I think she said that she was reducing her commission for the sellers. Is that right? Did she say that, guys? Or did I mishear? I could have sworn she said that she was reducing her commission. That would have been a great opportunity for you to either ask how much commission she's making. Don't be afraid to ask that question. But then also your response could be, why don't I, instead of you getting 2%, why don't I pay you 3%? I'm happy to do that. The way that we purchase is we pay the sellers. The way that we purchase, we pay the seller's commission. And so why not increase that to 3%? Would that be something that you're interested in? Okay. Give her that little carrot, because if you do that, she's going to be much more inclined to work with you as opposed to the person who's going to pay her 2%.
Yeah.
Right. So that could help you a little bit. Anything that you say it with confidence. Anything that you say. I think we've learned recently that you can say whatever you want to say, as long as you say it confidently, people are going to start to believe it. Right?
Yeah.
So, for example, and by the way, I think that you're way too smart for your own good. I really do. I think that the way that you think is at a different level than the people that you're talking to a lot of the time. And when you start talking about like mirror wraps and things like that, the reason that I don't love that term is because the four of us know what that is, right? But if you ask 100 agents what a mirror wrap is, they'd be like, maybe 2, 3 would know, but they're investors. And so I wrote down simplify, which is what Bob said too, right? It's put this in its most simplistic terms. And what I found interesting about her response is she said, and I'm going to ask you this question, Mike, what she said, if you recall, but she said, oh, this sounds like it's a blank finance type of situation. What did she say?
She said seller finance.
Seller finance, right? Because that's what she understands.
Yeah.
She understands seller finance. So maybe that's kind of like a clue for you to say, okay, well, maybe instead of this, maybe just try something that she's probably much more likely to understand, like seller finance. The way that we purchase, Mike, is very similar to a seller finance type of transaction. It goes exactly the same exact way. We close at a title company. The closest thing that you're probably familiar to, or the closest thing that you're familiar with, is probably a seller finance. That's kind of what this is. So it's very, very similar. It's done the same exact way. So simplify that as much as possible, just because I don't think that a lot of people know what these terms are. More people are getting to understand sub 2, right? And it's unfortunately the connotation isn't a positive one for a lot of agents, but they'll say, "Oh, is this like a sub 2?" Yeah. I'm glad that you said that, and kind of go down that road. But if they don't know what sub 2 is, you can use seller finance. There was one point there where I wrote down silence. Don't be afraid of it, because there was one point where you explained something and I could hear her thinking if that's even possible. And then you chimed in maybe 3 seconds later, just because it was an awkward pause. Don't be afraid to just sit there.
Okay.
I think of this all the time, Bob. Maybe you can feel this in a little bit of a different way, but there's a scene in Good Will Hunting where Will Hunting goes to see, why can't I think of Robbins?
William Robbins. Or Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams.
Why didn't I think of that? He goes to see Robin Williams, who's his therapist. Do you remember what he does in the first scene, or the first time he goes to see Robin Williams as his therapist? Silence. For 45 minutes. That's it. Just silence. And then eventually, I think in the second session, started with silence again, and then he started talking. And they found a way to kind of meld their minds together and kind of move things forward. Don't be afraid of silence. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens on the other side of it. Other than that, I thought that was a really, really good call. I think that there's a deal there. I really do. And what I would do is I would touch base with the Milanazos, Dom and Angie, on this one. Since they're in Colorado, you can use their credibility. They've done deals in Colorado all the time. They're agents in Colorado too. Okay. So it's really good to have those people in your back pocket, especially when you're calling agents and you can say, my partners who are also agents in this state do this all the time. I'd love to connect you guys if we get to that point.
Okay. Perfect.
Guys, this was fun today. Bob, I'm sorry you did not get on a live call.
I got seemed like I started off dialing, got no answer. And then I think Bryan got a call, and then Mike got a call. And then it seemed like every time I get ready to push the dial, the green button to send the call out, I hear someone talking. Okay, I got to listen to that.
You're just my co-host today. That's all you were.
That's the way it goes sometimes. So
I know.
I'm glad you're listening, Bob. Give me good feedback. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
You too, Bryan.
Guys, thank you so much, as always. It was so good to see all of you. Thank you so much for attending, and hopefully we can do it again.
Thank you.
I'll be there.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.